So when we began Unit 4, we did basic integration to begin with. So this was going backwards from derivatives. So what we did in stuff like question number 1 over here was we did a nice little rewrite. And we said this became, I would think about it as 2x to the what? Negative 1/2 dx. And when it's just basic integration without like the endpoints, we integrate by adding 1 to our exponents. So that becomes x to the 1/2. And then what do we do with that 1/2? Okay, it's like you divide by 1/2, but multiply by the reciprocal. So it becomes what out front? 4? Yeah, because dividing by 1/2 is like multiplying by 2. And then when it's indefinite integration without the endpoints, what do we put after it? Plus c. Okay? So we did basics like that. And then we also threw in that whole u substitution thing where if it's not a nice, neat one, we had to pick something for u, do du, dx, blah, 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 all that stuff, which is what we're looking at in number 2. What would you say is a good u for us in number 2? The bottom. U equals 1 plus 2x squared, the stuff underneath the square root. I would not include the square root just because that's like the outside-inside idea, right, from chain rule. And we'll move it to the top when we rewrite as well. So then we said, okay, du dx is equal to, the derivative is what? 4x. Therefore, we solve for dx and say that is equal to du over 4x. So we do our little side work with our u, and then we go back and we rewrite and we say, okay, now this is the same as the integral of x. What do I do with that square root thing? Yeah, we do u to the negative 1/2. And in place of dx, we put in what? Du over 4x. And then this is the nice kind that we really like because what happens to our x's? They cancel. Good. So my x's cancel. And I can move my 1/4 out front, or I can integrate 1/4 u to the negative 1/2, whichever way you prefer. So if I take my 1/4 out, and I integrate my u to the negative 1/2 du, I'm going to get 1/4 times, what's the integral of u to the negative 1/2? So it goes u to the 1/2, and what goes out front? 2. Plus what? C, yeah? So final answer on that one would be 1/4 times 2 is 1/2. And in place of the u, we put back in 1 plus 2x squared. So I'm going to make that square root of 1 plus 2x squared plus c. Yes? We all okay with that lovely u substitution? Coming back to our minds? Yes? It's been a minute. All right, what's going on in 3? Okay, you do each one kind of separately, and it's like you're doing 2 u substitutions, right? But do you remember the whole thing with the half test? There was that one. We started to see if you did the review material for that half test and then it showed up again on the half test, if there's a number inside the sign, you can essentially avoid u substitution by saying, okay, let's integrate sine. Sine is integrated to what? Negative cosine. Keep what was inside. And what do you throw out front? Is it what's inside? It's the reciprocal of it. So it's 1/2. Because if you think through the opposite direction, if I took the derivative of that, you would say the derivative of negative cosine is positive sine. And then when you did the chain rule, you'd multiply by 2, right? So that's where the 2 and the 1/2 cancel out. So then if that cosine has what in it now? Because this one had a 2. This one has a 1/2. So if I follow the same idea, it would be a 2 out front, and then the integral of cosine is sine. And we keep the x over 2, always throw in your plus c. That's the one on the half test where...
If you don't know how to do it, it's really hard.
Yeah, because you feel like you're doing like 5 U substitutions, and it was on the half test. I'll write it down over here. I have space. There was one on the half test that was the integral of sine of 2x plus cosine of 3x plus secant squared of 4x plus secant 5x tangent 5x. And this was the one, it was interesting because I could really tell who had done the review material and who hadn't based off of that question. Because this, when you picked it up and you went through it, you realized what was going on. We said the integral of sine is negative cosine 2x, and then you just say, instead of doing U substitution, you multiply by the reciprocal out front, so that had a 1/2 out front. And then the integral of cosine was sine 3x. Instead of doing U substitution, you put the reciprocal out front. Integration of secant squared is what? Tangent. So we have tangent from secant squared, and we put a 1/4 out front. And then the integral of secant tangent is what? Secant 5x, and we put what out front? 1/5. So it becomes very straightforward if you start recognizing that in every single one of those without having to do a U substitution. Okay? That's something good to kind of carry through from last time that we learned. Which is the only reason I went back over that. All right, take a minute then on the next couple. If we are asked then to integrate, now this is what we call a definite integral. We learned this at the very end, and that was not even on the half test. So it's just stuff that we're going to continue with then. This is asking to integrate the same thing as number 1, right? Only it's on the interval 1 to 9. So what was the difference then that we did? We did like the f of b minus f of a. So what did, look back up to the top of the paper, what did this integrate to? 4x to the 1/2, right? And because it was what we call a definite integral, we can avoid the plus c on this altogether by saying I'm evaluating this from 1 to 9, right? So then this had one additional step to it. In the end, we did f of b minus f of a, which means in this case I would do 4 times the square root of 9 minus 4 times the square root of 1, right? So what was this going to give me then as a, okay, so that's 12 minus 4 is 8, yes? All right, so do that again with number 2. Again, we don't want you to reintegrate here. We already know the answer to number 2, right? That's the same as number 2 up here. So I can immediately say that this is going to be 1/2 square root of 1 plus 2x squared evaluated from 0 to 2. If you happen to have one of these that doesn't actually solve out nicely, or you feel like, A, it's going to be taking a lot of time to solve it out, or B, you might get it wrong because it's super tricky to solve out, in an AP style test, you would be fine leaving this as your answer.
Wait, really?
Yes. So there's places, like it's the same kind of concept that at the beginning of the year, you know, we were so used to solving for y and making it y equals mx plus b. I have to clarify that, but generally speaking, if you've got the numbers plugged in, it's simple enough.
Oh, that was like when we were doing like...
Yep, when like we've gotten to the place now that we recognize point slope, you don't have to solve for y. It's the same kind of idea. It's usually needed to solve if you're going to use that number going forward. Like there were a couple places in Unit 3, like you needed to know if the second derivative was positive or negative in order to tell if it was a max or a min. So that kind of place, yeah, you got to work it the whole way through because you need that information going forward. If it's just stopping here, you don't have to at all. But like I said, right now, it's pretty straightforward for solving. Like this one is 1/2 times the square root of 9 minus 1/2 times the square root of 1. Therefore, this is just going to give me, oh my word, my brain. 3/2 minus 1/2 is just 1, yeah. Okay. So these work out pretty nicely. So, and you're going to see that a decent amount with some of these, but not always. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
So like if it wasn't, like, so the honestly, leave it like that.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you look at that and think like, I'm going to make a stupid mistake in the middle of it, it might be safer just to leave it. And not, yeah. So then same thing for number 3, but this is reviewing our trig. Yay! We already integrated number 3, and we said, okay, this integrates to negative 1/2 cosine of 2x plus 2 times sine of x over 2. And we're evaluating this now from 0 to pi over 3. So take a minute and review your trig and plugging that in. Negative 1/2 cosine of 2 times pi over 3 plus 2 sine of pi over 3 over 2 would go to pi over 6 minus, and then I would always use parentheses when there's multiple terms being subtracted, just to be careful with that. Negative 1/2 cosine of 0 plus 2 sine of 0. So then going through these, even with plugging in, it does work out to nice unit circle numbers, right? So I have to think through to myself and say, okay, what is the cosine at 2 pi over 3? Cosine at 2 pi over 3 is negative 1/2. Yeah. Plus 2 sine at pi over 6 is also 1/2. Minus, and then keep my parentheses, negative 1/2 cosine at 0 is going to be what? 1 plus 2 sine at 0. What's sine at 0? 0. There we go. All right, so that means I've got 1/4 plus 1 plus 1/2. And again, like if this is going to be something that it gets all screwed up, you're welcome to leave it there, or leave it in the previous line. I would not leave it without evaluating the cosines and the sines, because usually when that's being given, they want you to be able to do that. However, if I went all fourths on this, it would be 5/4, 7/4. Woo.
I mean, I don't know why, if you can do that, solve it out.
Yeah.
Just take that.
Yeah. I know. It's hard to know when to and when not to. It's basically only when it's being used going forward. But, all right, back page. A little bit more review for us to do here. We have semicircle and a line segment. Remember, another way we talk about doing this is when we don't have the equations, the integral also represents, what was our key phrase for that? Area under the curve, right? Now, one thing a few of us missed, and I don't know if it was purely the other class or this class, but remember, area under the curve when it's above the x-axis is what? Positive, and when it's below it is negative. That got missed occasionally on that half test. So, how would you find the area under the curve from -3 to 5? What's the first section we're looking at? You don't have to use that. You could if they asked you to estimate, but yep, so we could do semicircle for the first part. So we've got, all right, so my integral from -3 to 5 of g of x, I almost wrote f of x there, dx. The first part is going to be a semicircle, so half of a circle with a radius of what? 3. So I would do half pi 3 squared. Yes? And then how do we find the area of that second section from 3 to 5? Okay, 1/2 base times height, so that's going to be 1/2 times base of 2 times height of 1, except it's going to be what? Negative. So my final area for this would be 9 pi over 2 minus 1. I'd leave it here, but you could have left it at the previous one. Yes. All right, now you are not given a graph for number 5 here. So we sketch. So take a minute and try to sketch what you have given here. And then we'll check together. If I am sketching this region, it really bothers me that I cannot draw a straight line very well on this. 3x squared would start where? At 0, 0, right? And because it's going through x equals 1 and x equals 2, I'm going to think through where it actually goes through so I can have an accurate sketch here. Because it does say to find the area, not to, like, estimate it. So at 1, what would be the y value of that? 3. And at 2, would be 12. Yes? So I've clearly given myself plenty of space for this. And we'll keep going. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. All right, so my 3x squared is a parabola that looks something like that. We don't really need the left-hand side, but you could draw it if you wanted to. Very much bothers me when it doesn't look right. So that's that. What kind of graph is x equals 1 and x equals 2? Vertical lines, right? So it's going to be a vertical line through x equals 1 and a vertical line through x equals 2. And if R is the region bounded by all 3 of those, what area should I be shading in? Yeah, it's like this trapezoid-ish shape in here. Right? Now, if I wanted to find an exact area on that, remember, area or integrals represent area under the curve, right? What curve is that area under? It's under the 3x squared, right? So it's going to be the integral of 3x squared. And now it's not all of 3x squared. It's specifically 3x squared between where and where? 1 and 2. Now this is something that we know how to do. We know how to integrate 3x squared. Right? What is the integral of 3x squared? X cubed. And we're evaluating it from? 1 to 2. Yes. Take a minute and finish that one out. All right, so in our last question here of our review, we would like to integrate secant squared of t dt from 0 to x. Although that's an x and not a number, we can treat that normally. Right, and just use our f of b minus f of a strategy. So first, what is the integral of secant squared? Tangent, right? Secant squared integrates to tangent.
Oh, but secant is the secant.
Mm-hmm. And we're evaluating that from 0 to x, yes? So evaluating it at x just means that we're removing what? Removing the t and in place of it putting in the x, right?
Oh, and then we're solving.
Minus.
Oh, we're solving for the x because it gives us the 1.
So then we have minus tangent of what? Because we're still doing f of b minus f of a. 0. Okay, we'll get to the f of pi over 4 in a minute. Right now we just want to get the equation.
Yeah.
So what is the tangent at 0? 0. So really, f of x, our equation, is just what? 10x. Now, can we find f of pi over 4? Sure can. F of pi over 4 means we're looking for tangent at pi over 4, which we know from our unit circle is 1. That's it. Yay.